Daniel Sports Central, we go over a March Madness game preview and prediction on the Sweet 16 matchup between the Kansas Jayhawks and the Providence Friars. Both teams have played well in the first two rounds of action. Should make for a good matchup in your Sweet 16. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Starting out with your team trends. Kansas 30-6 heading into this matchup. One seed, of course, in the Midwest region. And they have been an excellent team all season long. Consistently one of the best teams in the nation. They were 14-4 in Big 12 play this season and 6-4 in games against the top 25. And if you look at their first two games of this tournament, they beat Texas Southern in the first round, no problem. Beat them by about 30 and then beat Creighton in what was a close game for a long time. The Blue Jays are a good basketball team, but that game was definitely kind of a scare there for Kansas, but in the end, Jayhawks got the win. That's really all that matters. Then you got Providence, who's 27-5 overall, 14-3 in conference, then 4-2 in games against the top 25. And Providence is a team that's been very polarizing this season. They've got a great record. They've played overall like one of the best teams in the nation, but something to note here is that this team has played a lot of close games. They've got a lot of close wins, and so that can mean, of course, when you see a team have a lot of close wins, that could mean that potentially they're not quite as good as their record shows. And so for this team being a 4 seed going into this tournament, there was a bit of concern there whether or not this team could make it a long ways, given that they didn't really beaten a lot of their opponents by a lot. But so far in this tournament, they played overall well. They beat South Dakota State by 9 in the first round, and they beat Richmond big. They dominated the Spiders in the second round, which Richmond, of course, coming off of a huge win against Iowa, and Richmond is an experienced team, and Providence shut them down. So, that was a big win for Providence there, beating Richmond in the second round. They got some good momentum going into the Sweet 16. Games will be on Friday, March 25th in Chicago, and your tip-off is 7:29 p.m. Eastern. Your spread's going Kansas here by 7.5 points, so the Jayhawks are favored in this matchup by a decent amount. Not surprising seeing that. Of course, Kansas being a 1 seed. Over-under is 141.5, and your BPI is going Kansas here 78.5%. So Jayhawks are favored pretty heavily, you could say, in this matchup, especially by the BPI. Tournament run as well. Once again, you see Kansas, they beat Texas Southern big, and they beat Creighton by 7. And then Providence, of course, they have beaten South Dakota State and Richmond. So they haven't played a high seed in this tournament yet. This is their first major opponent in this tournament with Providence. They've played a 13 and a 12 seed, so we'll see what the Friars are made of in this matchup, that's for sure. Here's your stat comparison as well. Kansas, 78.6 points a game, 68.1 allowed, and then their BPI rank is 8. Versus Providence, you got 71.8 points a game, 67 allowed, and their BPI rank is significantly lower at 43. Kansas, they're known for their outstanding offense, and that's usually, this Jayhawk team in particular, their defense is good, but their offense is, they know how to play lights out. And this, if Kansas can get on a hot streak here, if they can, during the game, it wouldn't be surprising. That's the thing about Providence in this matchup here is, their defense is going to have to play really well. Because even if you stumble 1 point, Kansas can get up by 8-10 points on you, and it's going to be really tough to come back. So, Kansas, this offense, if they can get some runs going, and that's really what is tough on their opponents. And Providence, of course, they're balanced on both sides. They're good offensively, and they're decent defensively as well. Providence, once again, the main storyline on this team is, are they as good as their record shows? Some notable matchups. Kansas, of course, they were 1-1 against Baylor this season, lost to Kentucky by 18. They were 2-1 against Texas Tech, 1-1 against Texas, and they beat Michigan State at 1 point by 13. So you got some good games and some bad ones for Kansas. They beat Baylor once, which is big. Did lose to Kentucky by a lot, but they beat Texas Tech twice. Texas Tech is a really good team, and Texas 1-1 against them and beat Michigan State as well. Providence, on the flip side, they were 0-2 against Villanova. They beat Texas Tech by 4, beat Wisconsin by 5, beat UConn by 4. So you can see what I'm talking about here with those close wins. Providence, they beat Texas Tech, Wisconsin, and UConn. All three of those are good wins, but they were within 5 points for all three, and that's a very common theme with a lot of their schedule this season. And they're 1-1 against Creighton as well when they played them. Some key points. Kansas beat Texas Southern in the first round, Creighton in the second, so obviously Creighton's a much better opponent than Texas Southern, and Providence, you could say, is better than Creighton, so we'll see how Kansas handles that. They're offensively one of the best in the nation for sure. There's no questioning that. They've got a very high-scoring offense, and they know how to score, and that's for sure. And Kansas, they play consistently well down the stretch as well. That's obviously huge when you go into a tournament where you got to win so many games in a row, and even if you have one bad game, you're out of the tournament. That's going to be crucial, and Kansas has been consistent for the most part. Providence, on the flip side, they dominated Richmond in the second round. Huge win, and Providence, I feel like coming into the tournament. They were a popular team to go out early, but here they are on the second weekend. And they haven't had to play a top tier, a high caliber opponent yet. They could have had that in Iowa if Iowa were to win, but Providence did make it to the second weekend. And I mean, the way they played against Richmond, I mean, I do have some optimism about Providence and potentially giving Kansas a fight here, but obviously it's going to be tough. I mean, Providence, very talented. I've won lots of close games once again, and Nate Watson obviously is a player, the key player on this Providence basketball team to really keep an eye on. He's been a major impact player, and Kansas, of course, Agbaji is the main impact player for them. But that's it. Let's get to the prediction here for Kansas and Providence coming up here in the Sweet 16. I'm going to go with the Jayhawks here to get the win. 74-68 is my predicted final score. I'm just more confident picking Kansas in this game. I mean, Providence is an excellent basketball team for sure. They're going to keep it close. I do think it's going to be a close matchup, but I think Kansas in the end is simply the better team. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Kansas, this could be their year. I mean, they're very much built for a deep run, and here they are in the Sweet 16. I have them advancing to the Elite Eight. And I mean, the Jayhawks, I mean, once again, this is a very talented team, and Providence is too. Providence definitely has potential to win this matchup, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but once again, just more confident picking Kansas in this matchup. I see a higher ceiling in them. Probability 55% towards the Jayhawks. Your over-under is 141.5. I'll take the over for this game, but that's it's tough picking the over-under for this game. I mean, it could easily go either way, but Kansas's offense, I do expect, especially if they get a win here, I mean, they're going to be above 70 points, that's for sure. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas even hit 80, but I might be going kind of conservative here, picking Kansas to have 74 points over Providence, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to go with Kansas to win this game by 6. But that said, let me know your thoughts and comments below on this game, and I appreciate you guys for watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.